but he says it'll be harder for high schools to be open at the same rate because of the higher infection risk among older students. In a CNN town hall, the president said the majority of schools in kindergarten through 8th grade are the easiest to open and the most vital. He expects many schools will push to stay open through the summer. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Speaking to reporters, President Biden spoke about discussions he had since taking office with his predecessors.
Was it President Trump who hasn't reached out?
There's only one I haven't spoken to.
Can you clarify which president has?
Hey, everybody. I think we are up on Facebook now.
Texas over responsibility as power remains out to as many as 3 million homes. Bob Oravec at the National Weather Service says a warm up in Texas is not happening soon.
Across Texas, it's still going to be very cold, much below average temperatures again. High temperatures will probably be in the upper teens, lower 20s in the far northwestern parts of the state. Dallas is going to be 26, Houston 37.
The cold weather has buckled Texas's power grid. Police say a 7-year-old boy has died in Switzerland after a homemade igloo collapsed on him and his father. The father managed to get out.
Hey, Melissa, how you doing?
Virus inoculation sites in Los Angeles and Oakland in California.
Hey, can you hear me now? Let me get this. The sound is good? Okay, Bab. Thank you, sweetie.
By the outbreak. A U.S.-led coalition contractor was killed, an unspecified number of civilians wounded when a barrage of rockets struck outside an airport near where U.S. forces are based in northern Iraq. This is AP News. The former Trump Plaza Casino in Atlantic City is set to be blown up today.
It was the one-time jewel of Trump's casino empire, opening in 1984, but it fell into such disarray.
So we got that. The sound is good, loud and clear. All right, Barbara Jean. Hey.
The city's fire chief says explosives
got a
are
lot
set
to
to
talk
make
about
the 39-story building
today.
crumble like a deck of cards.
All
An
right.
option to press the demolition button had been set
All right.
up
I hope you all
until
had a great evening, a great night.
though it was built by
Hope
Trump,
you were
the building
warm.
is now
Boy, they are having a mess, not just in Texas. Everyone's focusing on Texas because they're the largest energy producer in the country.
Police in Spain
Do we
say
have
14
Reverend
people
Dr.
were
Johnson
arrested
on?
in
Reverend
Florida.
Johnson?
Yes, we do.
Okay, please let me know.
Rap artist Pablo
Thank you.
Hasél, who had
Reverend
barricaded
Johnson?
himself at a university.
Yes,
I hope you are warm today.
Free speech. Hasél is accused of
I
writing
am
songs
warm. What about you?
I am trying to be. You know,
AP
I'm
News.
sitting up here getting this
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs.
getting
and
this
streaming worldwide
oh
at
goodness gracious. I'm
WCPT.com.
getting my windows taped.
Talk, where facts matter.
Yes.
I am like on
Now, your WCPT 820 Chicago traffic.
it's just I am
On northbound I-55.
I'm cold. I don't know where to put it. You know, I live right here on the lake, right? And I've got these floor to ceiling glass windows, and you can feel how they're not sealed properly. So even when I turn the heat all the way up, it is cold. And when I came back to Chicago, not draft is cold. Girl, it's not draft. It's like, that's why I'm coming on here looking like this in the morning.
2 minutes.
I hope that you are well. We are on. Hey, Tanya, how you doing, sweetie? We're on StreamYard today, and we're going to be there every day. I want you all. I need you all. Need your help. Please go to please like and subscribe.
Trying to find a
Let me get all. Can you send me all of that, Marnie? Right on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Santita J Show, at Santita J Show, and the Santita Jackson Show over on YouTube. The Santita Jackson Show. I need you all to like and subscribe there. Like and subscribe. We want to go on and get our numbers way up, and we're excited to have you. We're going to talk about Reverend Dr. Johnson. You know this woman, Amy Cooper, the woman who was in
1 minute.
in Central Park.
Yeah.
Who accused this? I mean, she falsely she could have gotten this black man killed, right? Well,
Right.
the charges were dismissed against her yesterday. She went through some.
Right, I saw that.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that today, and then of course we're going to go into what Biden said yesterday, because he did say no to student loan debt cancellation. That's a biggie.
30.
That's a biggie. That's a biggie. That's a biggie, I think. Because people need student loan debt. I'm so glad I had scholarships to college. And like my mother said, you all are going where you can afford to go to school. Where'd you get your scholarship?
15.
You know how it is. Because people think we grew up rich, right? They have no idea. That's all right. We did grow up rich.
5 seconds. Here we go.
And experiences.
That's right.
That's all I wanted. Like I had my parents and y'all, and so it was my family.
That's right.
That's right. So it was good. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Nope. It is more valuable than silver and gold.
Absolutely.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I'm Santita Jackson. I want you to call me or text me at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. GWC Injury Lawyers gives you the opportunity to text me. I want to hear from you. I want you to text me. I want you to join. We're on so many platforms today. But first, of course, Facebook Live, the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Meet the Morning Stars over there. But we're also streaming on my YouTube page, the Santita Jackson Show page. So please do me a favor, everybody. Like and subscribe. We want to go on and get those numbers through the roof. I got a message from Effie Rolfe, Reverend Vicky Johnson, who's going to give us good news in a couple of minutes. She said, look, your numbers need to be much higher, girl. So I need you to kind of pull things together on your platform. So Effie, I'm hearing you. I'm feeling you. I love her so much. She's given me so much support, and she's been a wonderful example. We got a lot to talk about today. Of course, did you see the Biden town hall meeting last night? It was very, very important. He's hitting the road trying to get support for his $1.9 trillion. I called it stimulus, but it really is a relief package for people, for the American people, and corporations too. They're constantly getting relief. But are you getting enough relief? What about student loan debt? He said absolutely not to that. So what do you think about that? And this is the case of Amy Cooper. They're calling her the Central Park Karen. She almost is a white lady who was with her dog in Central Park in New York, and there was a black man who is a bird watcher, someone who loves ornithology, the study of birds, and he asked her to hold her dog, and she started calling the police on him. That could have been could have gotten him killed. Well, charges went up, but they were dismissed. So I want to talk with you about that today. Just how that all works out. That's going to be at the bottom of the hour. And then, of course, Dr. Deborah Verholden giving us some information about COVID-19 and therapeutics and all things health. That's right. And then we're going to have a very interesting young lady, Namina Forna. Fascinating story. And she works with some of the top people in Hollywood. She has a book that's about to be a bestseller, but her backstory is what is so important. She, like so many of us, had parents who were pushing her into going to law, going to something stable. She said, no, I want to follow my dreams. And she did that. And boy, it's paying off big time for her. Perhaps her story will be inspiring to you. So everybody, please stay tuned to the Santita Jackson Show. We bring as much as we can to you to brighten your day, lighten your load. Today, as we get into these headlines, Chicago, we're going to have a high, thank goodness, of 27 degrees, mostly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, you'll be above zero today. Hey, 13 degrees. Snow showers. The Dow closed up 64 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed down 47 points. The S&P 500 closed down 2.24 points. Wow, what is happening in Texas and in Oklahoma and in Arkansas and in most of the country? Most of the country is really struggling with snow. Most of the country is struggling with these cold temperatures. A failed state, that's what they're calling Texas. Much of the United States, 48 states, everybody, engulfed in a deadly winter storm on top of the ongoing pandemic. And it's bringing frigid and dangerous Arctic air. North Pole air is now down in Texas, everybody. It's down that far south, and it is now in Mexico. So People are wondering about the power outages amid the freezing weather that's threatening lives and COVID vaccines. And people saying that it's a failed state. Texas, unlike any other state in the union, has its own grid that is not regulated by the federal government. Think about that, everybody. And people are calling for the Texas governor to resign. They're saying that he is lying and people are dying. That is according to this Common Dreams headline. Millions of Texans are struggling desperately to keep warm, and the state's Republican governor blamed solar and wind for blackouts, despite the fact that uh, the state relies on fossil fuels. And he claimed that the crisis shows that the Green New Deal would be a deadly deal for the United States. That's not explaining the infrastructure failure. In the meantime, Texas officials are warning of carbon monoxide poisoning. I would think that we need to look at that here because it's cold here as well. At least 17 deaths are tied to this winter storm that is now known as Uri. They're saying that this is a public health disaster and a public health emergency. We're watching busted pipes, everybody, the pipelines that get the gas to you. It's so cold in Texas, many of them are not able to keep their integrity. What's going on? U.S. snow cover reaches a record high across the lower 48. Unbelievable. More than 72% of the country is struggling with some kind of snow or cold emergency. So, what is going to happen, everybody? What is going to happen? This is not just in Texas. It is in Oklahoma. It is in Arkansas. It is here. It is everywhere. Do we have the infrastructure to handle this kind of emergency? What are you thinking? I want you to call me at 773 WCPT, 773 9278, because we all have a lot of questions as we're looking at carbon monoxide poisoning because people are trying to keep themselves warm in their cars. They're opening up their ovens. If they can turn their ovens on, they're looking for heat any way that they can. They can find it. Well, but we do have some good news. The coronavirus cases are declining across the United States, but experts are urging caution. Can't wait to hear from Dr. Deb why these cases are declining. And what about the Biden town hall event? We did see that there will be no relief for those who are seeking relief on student loan debt, but we did see that there will be a hard deadline on vaccinations. He's clearing up the school reopening question. He believes that a majority of students from kindergarten to eighth grade will be back in school, many of them going back to school 5 days a week. Some people said that we saw the comforter in chief as he spoke. You saw him speak to this mother and her child with great empathy. But we have to see policy, everybody. I think policy is when you will see the greatest empathy of all. Reverend Vicki Johnson, we need some good news today, pastor of the St. Thomas Lutheran Church here in Chicago. Help, 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 hope, help. First of all, I hope that you're warm.
I am warm, thank God for that. And I don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted.
No, ma'am, no, ma'am. Give me a word today.
Well, is there good news? Yes, there is always good news. Some of us have been in the struggle for a very long time, fighting for our civil and economic rights, which we now refer to as social justice. I can remember as a little girl seeing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Ralph Abernathy, Andy Young, Hosea Thomas, and many others on television talking about racism in the South. Little did I know that a few years later, I would become a freedom fighter in the North under the leadership of Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Calvin Morris, Reverend Willie Taplin Barrow, and Reverend Ed, the Dean of Digits Reddick, and so many, and so many more. We sang in the choir. I sang in the choir along with Dwight McKee, who is a regular guest on this show. Saturday mornings, we sang, we listened, we got our marching orders, and then Saturday afternoon, we went out on the picket lines after being in the meeting and fought against Red Rooster, A&P, National Tea, grocery stores, fighting for fair practices in our community. There was always a fight and we've always been in a struggle. But I'm glad that through our struggles, we took time out to celebrate our joy. I can recall a particular time of joy. It was Christmas, my favorite time of the year, and the city had its usual Christmas parade down State Street. It went past Carson Peary Scott and Marshall Fields with a white Santa Claus closing it out at the end. This particular year, Reverend Jackson and his staff organized another parade down State Street, South State Street, that is, past the Robert Taylor Home Project, with floats promoting Black businesses, the Chicago Defender, Conway Cleaning Products, Grow Fresh orange juice, and papaya juice. Had never had papaya juice before. And pulling up the rear was the 100 Boys Breadbasket Choir under the direction of Reverend Billy J. Jones, clapping and singing. And the very last float, it wasn't a glamorous float with elves and reindeer, but it was a wagon that had Reverend Jackson in it and Chuck, our Black Santa. The children were elated and they were filled with joy as they saw people that looked like them and celebrities, and as they received their gifts and packages of food. It was a moment of joy that lingers to this day. Yes, the struggle continues, but God will always give us times of joy to celebrate. So don't let these times of joy slip past you. Ecclesiastes, the 9th chapter and the 7th verse says, "Go eat your bread with enjoyment and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has long ago approved what you do." God approves of what we are doing in this struggle. And to me, that's good news. So go on, take a little time out and celebrate.
Amen. Thank you for that history lesson. Oh, I think we needed to understand that because you helped me to see, as a little girl, that's all I knew. I had grandparents. I came of age. I was born in a time when you could get black dolls. I was born in a time when we would have a Chuck Jackson who would be the soul saint. It was Santa Claus on North State Street downtown. We had Soul Saint on the south side.
That's right.
And he had a red, black, and green dashiki.
That's right.
That's right. But that was our baseline. And that was something that we really, really needed. I mean, Justin, I think that everybody can relate to it. That's why you still have the seven sister schools, the Smiths and the Vassars, because women need to see themselves in leadership. That is why you have HBCUs. That's why you have Brandeis and Yeshiva. That's why you have Catholic University and Notre Dame and on and on and on. People need to see themselves as the mainstream white community sees themselves in leadership every day, and see yourself in a place of honor. And the struggle does continue because you can see that the wounds are more than skin deep, Reverend Johnson. They are, because in that time we also celebrated our hair in a way that we don't today, right? I mean, we're having this natural hair movement, but it's very interesting. The curl pattern needs to be loose. Your hair needs to be wavy. Hey, I'm not. It's not no hate for me. I got it. I'm just saying, can we move a little bit? Very quickly. You know, um, before you go, what should the church's response be to this cold? I mean, where would you advise people to go today if they don't have heat? Do they go to a fire station? Do they go to a library, a police station? Because we're dealing with real cold here, and a lot of people are mindful of the fact that they've lost jobs. So Many people don't have heat right now.
And that's a really big problem during the pandemic, since some of the places that people would go to get warmth, those places are closed due to a pandemic. Many of the churches that are open during the day for warming and for food and other activities, they are closed. And so we say call 311 and they will be able to give you the nearest warming center near wherever you are. It's really operating during this pandemic has very much handicapped us for the things that we would normally do to step up and to provide for those who need it.
Blessings to you. Reverend Vicki Johnson, it's always so wonderful hearing your voice. She wasn't just in the choir, everybody. She was one of the lead soloists, and she's one of the great psalmists today. Even now, the pastor of the St. Thomas Lutheran Church here in Chicago on Jeffrey Boulevard. Please stay in touch with Reverend Johnson. You'll hear her here next week. Sending you much love,
Amen.
Reverend Vicki.
God bless you, Sandy, and have a wonderful day.
You just had to do it.
And that's right. Get warm and stay warm.
I'm going to do my best. I am. God has blessed me. I've got some heat blowing in my face right now. Thank you, God. Oh,
Amen.
Dr. Blessings, loving you so much. Dr. Deborah Verholden. We're seeing that the World Health Organization gave us some good news. They said that the coronavirus cases are down. They're declining across the United States, but they say that we still need to be cautious. Dr. Deb?
Oh, yeah, I thought you were still going.
No, it's okay. No, just soft pitch.
Well, it's like I always tell people, think like this. If you put bread in the toaster and you keep pushing it down, and a minute later, some toast pops up. If you unplug that toaster from the wall and you put the bread in and you push it down, nothing's going to happen. You got to stay plugged into the power source. The things that we're doing that got us to turn the tide, until we get this case rate kind of across the board, like really low, we have to stay the course. And I know it just sounds terrible. It's been such a drag. I look at my community webinar that I do in Flint is really the tell for me. We are coming up now on week 49. You could have never told me when we started that I would be at this for over 49 weeks. It just, and I live in a county where we are doing pretty well. This is our 12th consecutive week of decline. So we're doing great, and we are doing better in many states and in many counties. But, what's predictable is people will go right back to business as usual too early, and then, the tides could turn. So it is good news, but people just need to remember what got us here, because if we stop doing that, then things will change. So it is good news. I would really love to not be like this by the summertime. That would be fantastic for me, and I'm sure for many other people.
Well, let me ask you this. With respect to COVID-19, because now with this 48, the lower 48, 72% of Americans are dealing with a snow emergency, a cold emergency, and power outages all over the country. And that is imperiling vaccines. Indeed, we're going to lose a lot of vaccines. If you get COVID-19, how is COVID-19 treated? There was a New York Post story that I brought to everyone months ago, actually almost a year ago. They started treating patients with vitamin C, with high doses of potent vitamin C, and it was getting them out of the hospital. Well, how do you treat COVID-19? We don't really talk about that. Is there any way to do it?
Well, that's sort of a different thing. So vitamin C has long been used to I'll say treat people, use that word very conservatively, but to treat people who are having respiratory issues. It's long been known to stop an asthma attack from happening. People will get high doses intravenously of vitamin C. I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a treatment for COVID as much as there's, care that people practice that improve, outcomes for people or help them to get through while their body does the work and they recover. And it's basically the same things you do for like a cold or a flu. But there's no treatment per se. And a lot of what we'll see with people is, depending on how your body responds to COVID, people are mostly, especially people who are hospitalized, they're mostly getting whatever symptoms they have addressed. Right? So it's different for different people.
Okay.
I know that wasn't a simple answer, but it's not a simple answer.
Well, it's not a simple answer, and that's why I'm saying in these last couple of minutes here, you're saying, but you said we have a Swiss cheese approach. You have to have that. I mean, there are different layers of protection that we need, and that means it's tailored to your body. Because everybody's got different issues. I mean, that's part of the research that you all are doing. If you have, we all have different. Like I've got sickle cell trait, not the disease. I have the trait, but they're finding that can be a mitigating factor in, this vaccine. I mean, they're just so we need to know our bodies, and I think this is an opportunity for us. Dr. Deb, I want you to stay with us because I know you've got a comment on this story. Everybody, they're calling her the Central Park Karen, Amy Cooper. Walking her dog in Central Park in New York City. And then there's a black gentleman who came upon her, and he was looking at birds, ornithology, the study of birds. And
1 minute.
what had happened was he asked her to hold her dog so that the dog would not attack him. She then starts calling the police. And on and on and on it went from there. It could have really turned out badly. Think about it. A black man in New York, a white lady calls and says that he's threatening me. Oh my goodness. Oh, the sky is falling. She was, the charges against her were
30.
dismissed yesterday. What do you think about that? 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. I want to hear what you think about this. Dr. Deb, you stay right there because you're going to weigh in on this, along with C.K. Hoffler
15.
and Dwight McKee. And all of you here, and Robert Patillo, and Wisconsin State Rep Lakeisha Myers. Everybody wants to has a thought about this. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Dr. Deb?
Yeah.
I couldn't let you go. You at least got to say something to me about this. But what about Bill Gates saying that all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef? What is that? And how does he have such tremendous sway on how we're supposed to live?
Money. What they say, money talks and the BS walks. This is the golden rule. You own the gold and you rule. That's how that works.
But I know someone else whose rich in houses and land, and he holds the world in the palm of his hand. I think that's a heavenly father, and that is not what this man. That's not who he is. I am not impressed. I'm just trying to find out how it is that he has such tremendous sway over our lives. Synthetic beef. What is that? I don't even know if it's healthy. What?
I don't think any of us will really know that until
you die.
Some of these products have been out for a while, and we can actually understand long term what the impact is on people.
Get out of here! I am not a lab rat. Okay, I'm not a lab rat. I'm not a lab rat. I'm not a lab rat. I am not a lab rat. I repeat, I am not a lab rat. You don't just get a chance to. You don't get that. You just don't. You don't have the right to do that to me. I'm sorry. You just don't have that right. And people better wake up. No. I'm not a lab rat. No. I've decided. You decided what? No. Mm-mm. That's no. Nope. I had to ask you about that. I wanted to do that when I saw that late last night. But I said, I'm going to let Deb, who's got a lot going on, like we all do, I want to find out from her what's up. So let me see who is Representative Myers.
Yes, good morning.
How are you? State
I'm doing
Representative
well.
Lakeisha Myers. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay, and I have got Dr.
How are you doing?
Girl, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And I've got Dr. Deborah Furholden on with us. She's the Associate Dean of Public Health
Okay.
at Michigan State University. We've got Attorney C.K. Hoffler, the President of the National Bar Association, which you would know, the largest and oldest Black bar association in the world. And I'm going to ask you about this Central Park Karen. Then we'll move into Biden in a little bit, but I certainly want to ask everybody about that. I mean, the implications to me are just incredible. So everyone call me. I'm on Facebook now and on YouTube. So everybody please like and subscribe on the Santita Jackson Show page, the Santita Jackson Show, or the Santita Jackson Show page on YouTube. And I have a new Twitter handle, at Santita J Show, at Santita J Show. So everybody, please get over there. Please, 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 please like me. I'm very serious though. Liking means a whole lot. So please, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on my YouTube channel, and become my Twitter friend. I've got Santita J and the at Santita J Show. So everybody, please do that and continue to like on my Facebook page. Okay, there's so much that you have to do. Uh, State Representative Myers, Attorney Hoffler, Dr. Deb. This is a whole lot. Okay, and Chaparral, why don't you call in? Because Chaparral, is tearing it up, and I know you love that, Dr. Deb. We're on this new platform, CK, um, StreamYard, thanks to Deborah Furholden. And Dr. Deb has got us up here, and girl, honey, we are trying to be on like 5 or 6 places at once. And she said, oh, and you can do more. Yeah, like
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Oh my goodness. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. We got a lot to talk about today. You know what? President Biden had his town hall meeting. We're going to be talking about that today. Right now, and then we're going to have a young woman who has a fascinating story and a book that is becoming a bestseller that's going to be turned into a trilogy and a movie. You want to hear her story? It might be inspiring to you as we're all locked away. So you know what? Okay, Central Park Karen, who is she? Amy Cooper, a white lady, was walking through Central Park last year, but she was with her dog. But she falsely reported to police that Christian Cooper, who was not related to her, tried to assault her during a confrontation about her dog being off the leash in an area of the park where the leash was required. He was out bird watching. He asked her to leash her dog. Then she calls the police and she starts lying to the police. He's coming for me. Oh my gosh. He's attacking me. They didn't show up. And she kept calling back and over and over again. And I just can't take it anymore. Just tell me he's going to kill me. He didn't do that. And it was not true. And so she went into therapy. And now the charges have been dismissed. I want to get some reactions from everybody. I know Chappelle's got something to say because she and Bab are tearing it up right here. Bab, I want to hear your voice. Everybody, I want to hear your voice. There's Tanya, Monique, Deborah, all of you. Come on. Let me know. Barbara Jean, Adrian. I want to hear from you. This magnificent panel. Of course, we still have Dr. Deborah Furholden, Associate Dean of Public Health at Michigan State University. Indeed, she is building that school. They brought her from Johns Hopkins to do that. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, President of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest Black bar association in the world, 66,000 lawyers. She's also the chair of Rainbow Push. We've got Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers joining us again. Of course, she has a Chicago connection. We love her. We're so glad that she's here. But of course, we're on all over the place. So we're so glad that she joined us so she can weigh in on these issues. And We've got attorney Robert Patillo, Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push. And of course, he's got his own great radio show every Sunday on WAOK in Atlanta. And of course, you need to listen from 12 to 3 Central Time, 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. And Dwight McKee, Dr. D, brilliant sociologist from the National Action Network and Operation Push and Rainbow Push and Operation Breadbasket. Wow, what a history. Let me start with you. Since we haven't heard from you for a long time, State Representative Myers, what do you make of that story?
Yes, ma'am. You know what? I don't think that 5 sessions of therapy can cure anything, especially not the weaponization of white woman's tears. I'm sorry. It's not enough for me.
Okay.
It's not enough for me. She knew what she was doing when she continued to elevate the situation, by continuously calling the police and, heightening the situation with the lie that she perpetuated.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's enough.
Absolutely. Attorney C.K. Hoffler?
Well, this is about one of the more raggedy stories that we saw. No, that's not good enough. I always look at what would happen if the tables were turned. And I remember when the story broke, and I thought, this is just unbelievable that a lot of dogs, and I know this, I've seen this and had discussions about this, and have had some dog biting cases. People train their dogs for different reasons, and some dogs are trained to attack, black folks are trained to attack their watchdogs. And so when a dog is acting a certain way, it's perfectly reasonable to say, hey, can you, tame your dog or put your dog on the leash or something like that. So at the end of the day, what she has been able to get away with for me is just another commentary on the disparity between African Americans and white people, because we have to look at, if the tables were turned, what would happen? What would he have had to do? Would he have been in jail for a month, 2 months, a year? What would have happened? Would it have been a Michael Vick story? What would have happened if the tables were turned? So it's just another example of how much work we have to do to level the playing field, even in a situation like this.
Absolutely. Dr. Deb, because what do you think of this? You've got a son.
Well, I think though Central Park Karen better be lucky she wasn't black, because this is the way our system works. No, it's not even this necessarily about her per se, right? Because I just wish that this type of treatment and this type of leniency and application of the law would be applied universally, right? So I just wish that there would be opportunities when people did bad things or did dumb things, and it was a first time offense, or what wasn't, somebody who had a documented history of this type of behavior, that people would be given the opportunity for, what did they call this? Restorative justice. I don't see how it restores anything, because all the black people that had to watch that and watch and be reminded of all of the ways that we've been treated by people for nothing more than our skin color. And she actually got the right black guy. Like, this is a black guy hanging out in Central Park, bird watching.
Looking at the
like
birds.
You probably don't get any less threatening than a black male bird watcher. Like, what? Like, this guy is, And so, the thought that somebody, would be charged with something that had some racial motivation underneath of it, and they would be provided an opportunity to do some training around racial bias and that's okay. That seems fair, right? But that's just not how our system works. Black kids do one thing and they get the book thrown at them. So watching people like this be treated in a way that most of us will, and the people that we know will never be treated, it just fuels and furthers something that's really unfair and ugly about how our world works. So do I think she should have had the book thrown at her? No, I don't think most people deserve that. But that's how the system works. And that's what we do. So to see her get this leniency, it just says, okay, that's right, Deb. You forgot. We're in America, and this is how the world works. When you're white, you can act with impunity. And when you're black, you get the book thrown at you.
Attorney Robert Patillo, what say you?
Well, I think instead of wanting her to be more punished, I wish that we could create a system where more people got the same leniency as her. Maybe that that juvenile who has their first misdemeanor offense, instead of locking them away for months or putting them into an alternative school, we give them this same leniency: 5 days of therapy, and you're back in. The first time a kid gets caught shoplifting, instead of putting something on their permanent record and setting them down that road to being part of the criminal justice system, give them 5 days of therapy and let them walk away. So I of course, as the defense attorney, always want a more lenient sentence for more people. And I think that the way that we look at fairness should be that everybody should get the same privileges as Karen, instead of trying to bring Karen down to where she has to experience the same draconian system that the rest of us do. We know that the system is broken, but the way to fix it is to make sure everyone has the same leniency, not that everyone has the same dungeon they have to be in due to the system. So maybe Karen can become an advocate for more people to get the same treatment that she got.
Dwight McKee, what do you make of this?
Well, when I talk about this, has more to do with culture than party. She was a Wall Street liberal, but that was her first reaction. And it takes you right back to Dred Scott, that in her mind, a black man, a black person has no rights that a white person needs to respect. And this situation, she felt that the dog had more rights than he had. That the dog had the right to be at Central Park, chasing birds, and that he had the first to.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Whoever has the radio on behind them, please turn it off, because we're getting feedback. Okay, very good. Dwight, continue. Oh, if you have Facebook on, mute it, whatever it is, we're getting feedback from the show. Okay, Dwight?
That he should have had deferred to the rights of the dog, that the dog actually had more rights than he had, and that she was willing to defend the rights of the dog, and knowing that she's a white lady with the inherent, who would get the inherent benefit of the doubt, she threatened to call the police on him because she didn't want a dog offended by him. It is a culture, it is a mindset that renders us second-class citizens and everybody else first-class citizens, including the dog.
I just couldn't help but think of Carolyn Bryant, who more than 60 years later, nearly 70 years later, after the killing of Emmett Till, said, "Well, it didn't quite happen that way." But I don't want to talk about it. wait.
Or
That's the first thing I thought about too.
What now?
Or
Michael Vick?
Or Michael Vick, yeah, who went to jail for killing dogs when the killers of Emmett Till went free.
And when dogfighting, is an international sport. I didn't say I agreed with it, but that's a real sport that makes hundreds of millions of dollars at the very, very least. Let me go to Marissa. Marissa, you have some thoughts on Amy Cooper. What do you say?
Hi, Santita.
Hey,
How are
Marissa.
you?
How you doing, sweetie?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
So on the issue at hand, I just have to say this woman makes me ashamed to be a white person. I think she should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, because that's the only language her and other privileged white people are going to understand. I'm pretty sure it's not legal to call 911 and lie. I also think it would be a good idea for people to look at what went right in this situation, why the first responders either didn't come or, just dismissed it out of hand because they realized that it was not actually an emergent situation,
But
So I think that could be beneficial to public discourse.
Well, but let me just say this to you. Don't shame yourself and white people. Don't do that. We shouldn't demonize, nor should we, um, nor should we deify color. That's part of the problem that we have here. Stop all of that. God made us all. We're all beautiful. Red, yellow, black, brown, and white. My father says we're all precious in God's sight. There's nothing for you to be ashamed of. What we have to do is really confront the sickness of supremacy. Deal with that. And don't put any shame in it. Don't shame people. Pull them up. I don't think that you shame people into wellness. I think you have to love people into wellness. And loving also requires that you chastise people. You have to get them straight. I mean, our parents loved us and they disciplined us. Even when they made you go get that switch, that might not be popular now, but it certainly was in my day. So it is what it is. But we've got to deal with this, with that kind of sickness. Okay, you understand what I'm saying, Marissa?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, but I can love someone and think that they should be held to account for
Oh
their
no,
actions.
I'm saying that's what you do. When you love someone, you do hold them to account.
Mhm.
Yeah, no. When you love people, you don't let them get away with it. No. I mean, because this gentleman, Mr. Cooper, Christian Cooper, Christian Cooper, interestingly enough, his name, he did not want her to be prosecuted. He didn't want her to be persecuted. Um, and as was his right. It just lets you know this. I mean, Dwight is speaking to culture. State Representative Myers, there's a culture here, that gives some people a pass. And I mean, Robert Patillo makes a point, we are too punitive as it is. But she gets, 5 sessions, whatever they were, because you can't cure anything in five sessions. Certainly not a mindset. State Representative Myers from Wisconsin. Uh, What do you think should have happened? Or what should be our takeaway from this?
You know what? I agree that we should not be as punitive a society as we are. And a couple things came to mind first. For me, the first thing that came to mind was what laws were on the books already for basically filing a false report. In Wisconsin, I actually introduced a bill last session that I nicknamed the Barbecue Becky Bill, which would take care of this across the board in our state for, utilizing police resources for something that really made no sense. We had a woman here who, called the police because somebody messed up her order at KFC. So she called the police for that. So while that is not to a certain degree, this extreme, but then when you add race on top of it, she weaponized her white tears in that instance and knew what she was doing. So I think just like one of your callers said, people don't understand the consequences of that until you hit them in their pocketbook. So she should have been cited. There should have been some nice civil cause of action for her, with a hefty fine, of course. And then if you're going to mandate somebody go through some type of diversity training or some type of, I don't know, some type of training, 5 sessions more is not enough. You can't cure anything in 5 sessions. And we're not looking to cure probably because, this is learned behavior and something she's done before probably. If you look deep enough, I'm sure. So you're not trying to cure behavior, you're trying to change behavior. I bet she'll think twice about calling the police on another bird watcher. And historically, it's not lost on me that this happened in Central Park. When you think about the exonerated 5 now and what they went through in that same park, it's not lost on me the connection you made with Carolyn Bryant and, Emmett Till. So this weaponization of white tears and silence and lies that are perpetuated over generations, yeah, that's triggering. That is triggering, most definitely.
Well, you know, Renee Criswell writes her actions could have been a death sentence for him right there in the park.
Absolutely.
Because see,
Absolutely.
CK, because I mean, come on, she was calling the police. He's
Absolutely.
assaulting me. He's hitting me. He's oh my gosh, and the police would have gone there, guns drawn, when they see this black guy. Come on.
Right. Now, I would just like to add, I just wanted to clarify, is the law, did you say the barbecue Becky law? I just want to.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I heard
Barbecue Becky bill. I just introduced it last sentence.
Okay, I thought I heard that. You know, it's early in the morning. I thought I heard that, but I just wanted to clarify. So, okay, the barbecue Becky. So the second thing, I'm just going to leave that right there and just go to my next point. Santita, did you say? I just want to clarify also. Go get a switch, because did you have to get your switches like we had to get our switches?
My great grandmother, see, I tried to stay out of trouble. I stayed out of trouble. But my great grandmother Tibby, bless her heart, yes. And if you didn't get the right one, guess what she would do? She'd take you back out there with that arm lifted,
right?
You know, to your ear. Yep. See, I didn't want that. My brothers didn't mind, clearly.
Right. I didn't either. But when you have siblings. So what I'd like to comment on in just going back to from a legal analysis. When it comes to civil remedies, there are really only two things that you have. You have money, and I agree. The only way, if you want to really bring about some change or have people feel and have changed behavior, you want to have them feel the impact and the consequences of their behavior. Monetary relief is the strongest way to impact, whether you're talking about corporate America or individuals that do something that is completely unacceptable. That's number one. Secondly, you do have what we call programmatic initiatives, or initiatives or actions that you can impose on citizens that could hope to make them think twice, as in this instance, about calling the police on another bird watcher. It wouldn't be another bird watcher. It'd be another black person calling the police for no reason against another black person. That's how I look at it. And I think that's what was imposed here. It's just not enough. A year of counseling, a year of something else, and a fine would have been appropriate in this instance. And I do recognize that the victim did not want her to get in trouble. I do. A lot of people are compassionate, but this could have been so devastating for this young man and for our entire community that we just, when I heard about this, this is just a raggedy story. That's the only thing that I could think of is raggedy. I know that's not an articulate phrase, but this could have been so different. And I think that's what we have to look at. And we have to, as we move forward with these cases and these examples, we have to look at ways where we can minimize the likelihood of these type of situations evolving into bad situations for black folk and for black and brown people. And so there needs to be a deterrent factor. Her imposition, or what they asked her to do, the counseling sessions, is not a deterrent. No one's going to feel like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't do this, because what will happen is I'll have to go to 5 counseling sessions. Some people might say I need some counseling sessions. So I really don't think that this had any deterrent effect on her or others who are so inclined. And that's what I think I object to the most. Impose a fine and make it stronger. She doesn't need to go to jail for life. No, that's what we would get. She doesn't need to go, no one needs to go to jail for life, but there needs to be a fine and a stronger deterrent so that this doesn't happen again, or so that people will think twice. No one's going to think twice about 5 counseling sessions.
Well, Dwight McKee, what kind of signal does this send to the culture?
Well, I think personally she should have been made to give him the dog. But you talking about social unrest. You think they stormed the Capitol last week.
For some reason today I'm needing clarification. I don't know if I'm not hearing. What you're saying is give him the dog. Give
him the dog.
Give him the dog. Give the dog. The DOG. You want her to, as punishment, give him her dog.
That she'd be stretched out across the floor. You know that. She'd be stretched out across the floor.
When you talking about the social revolution, all those white people in Boston,
in
Oh, oh.
because in this culture, the dog got more rights than he does. And you talk about cruel and unusual punishment. They would have gone crazy and said, "How dare you?" But you talking about for him to go to jail than for her to have to give him the dog.
Oh, help me, Holy Ghost. What? Do you have a response to that, Robert?
I actually think that's a very fair discussion. I think that would end the entire Karen phenomenon. The drop of a hat, you have to give away your Lululemons and your dog, and then they'll stop calling. So I think that might be effective. Dwight is onto something.
But you know what? I guess in all seriousness, what is disturbing to me about this case, when I saw the video and I saw her calling the police repeatedly, she sounded to be in distress. This could have gotten him killed. I mean, that was the first thing that came into my mind, that this could have gotten him killed. I mean, she's under assault. They would have seen this black guy, and that's, because people make snap judgments. And that for me is very, 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 very dangerous. That's dangerous. And I don't think that anyone is real. I don't think people are really digging down on that. That you got a chance to see her on that video, calling the police repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. That for me is what was so dangerous. CK. I got a minute. Is there any legal recourse? I mean, clearly, Mr. Cooper said, I don't want to prosecute her. I'm going to let this go. And I'm sure that was a factor in this decision. But what if he did want to prosecute? Just play that out for me in a minute.
Okay, well, certainly he could have prosecuted, could have filed charges for her, against her. There certainly is an element of emotional distress that he sustained for her falsely accusing him of engaging in inappropriate activity. I think that he could have filed charges against her. He certainly could have. I don't know which charges under New York state law, but as a general proposition, he would have been able to file charges against her. I don't know where that would have gone, but that would have been an option for him.
1 minute.
Sustained emotional distress, no matter how kind he is, that was emotionally draining. And he's now a subject of public scrutiny as it relates to this.
Wow.
Because of something that she did.
Wow. Everybody, I want to hear from you. What did you think about the town hall meeting? What did you think about President Biden? People talked up his empathy and the fact that he was very personable and that he said, we're going to put the Trump years behind us. Essentially, he said that.
30.
But now we're trying to find out about the policy. He said no to student loans, and he said that with a stiff spine. Is that what you voted for? You didn't get $2,000. Well, if you add the $1,400 check to the $600, you got $2,000. But is that what you really, really are looking for?
15.
Let's talk about this. What about the policy? Let's talk about what you heard.
10.
What you heard at the town hall meeting for President Biden.
5.
Call me at 773-763-WCPT. I'm Santita Jackson. We'll be back in just a minute.
Give the dog.
Oh, Dwight, but you know what? You're making a great point. But wow, this is a lot. And everybody's laughing about my mug. I love my mug. CK, Lakeisha, Deb, this is the biggest mug ever. And they had 2 left at Home Goods, and I bought them both. Yes. It holds so much. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm just happy. Ooh. But thank you all for getting up this morning. And everyone, look, yesterday when we were on StreamYard, you were able to see all of we got everybody on camera because remember, we were down at the station. We were down there. And we're going to continue to move forward, but we have to thank Dr. Deb for introducing us to StreamYard and for pushing for us to get it. And then, of course, Marnie, Dr. Reeves, and Chaparral, who harassed me until I did it. Well, the 3 of them did, actually. So I'm glad that we're up here. I thank you all because we're having a good time with StreamYard. Dr. Deb?
I told you once you got on it, you would say, why didn't you push me to get on this sooner? And I said, I've been trying, Santita. So now I know the secret formula. Get your pearl.
No. Please
I got
don't.
it.
No. Please don't.
I'm gonna just say I'm gonna call your pearl in them.
Don't do that. Please don't do that. Don't. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, don't do that. No. I can't. I can't. Whew.
I saw the big coffee mug too. It's funny. I gotta run. I got one of my mini task force meetings. I'm now on a new commission. But I will be tuning in on Facebook. And I love the new look of it. I love all of it. I love it. And I like that all of the platforms can come together now. It's a way for people who are on Facebook to find out what people on YouTube are saying. And I see Chappelle is sharing some of the comments and things like that. This is going to be exciting stuff. This will be fun for Monday night too.
Oh, no, don't worry. Look, we've gone on over. Okay. We have crossed on over to the other side. Don't worry. We've done it. Everyone, we need you to go on over to YouTube to the Santita Jackson, to the Santita Jackson Show. The Santita Jackson Show. Please like and subscribe over there. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to go over here and go back to here. And because I don't want to mess things up today. How about that? But I thank you all so much for your patience, for being with us today. And Dwight McKee, Robert Patillo, State Representative Lakeisha Myers, and C.K. Hoffley, you're still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, very good. Now we're going to move into...
I'm still here, Santita, until 8:30, which is 7:30 your time.
Okay. Well, we're going right into the Biden press conference. Press conference.
Perfect.
Whatever we saw.
Town hall meeting.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Girl, look, I'm doing the best I can. Okay. So let me do this.
It was the give him the dog. Give him the dog.
Was that, girl?
It was the give him the dog that just threw all of us.
You say, well, I'm asking for clarification.
Dog.
Would you help me with this? I need some clarification. In all of my learning, all these other languages I've got, I can't really compute
I just
that.
want to know. Did he? That's exactly right. I just want to know, was it give him the dog?
Wait a minute. Smith College, George Washington University. That just doesn't work for me. Yeah, he said, give him the dog. That's it. I can't believe it. I can't believe she said that. Did he really say that? Yep, he sure did. He sure did. Oh my gosh. Dwight doesn't make good sense.
We are the movement, y'all. Give him the dog. Give him the dog.
And that is a movement. Definitely a song. It's worthy of a song. Give him the dog.
Come on, where's George Clinton when I need him? Come on.
Right. That was your George Clinton moment. Give him
the dog.
The dog.
Woo! Okay, give it to him. Yeah. But you know what?
Boy, you talking about you talking about traumatized white people, boy. That you talking about a ride. If they think that
gosh.
Them dogs are at risk.
Oh my gosh. Oh wait. You know what? Now hold on. CK, I was just so that you know, I was trying to get Commissioner Rodney Ellis on today. He has no power at his house, CK. But his son lives in Austin and lives downtown. They have power. But literally on the other side of Austin, he sent me a screenshot. There is no power.
No power. Yeah.
But his son lives downtown. I said, look, ooh. But he said he's going to, he said, once I get to a place where there's some power, so as you know, Rodney would say, some power, I'll be right up there now. I'm right up there yonder. And don't you remember when he was teasing us a couple of weeks ago? Come on. You remember a couple of weeks ago on Keep Hope Alive, he was teasing us about having to go out into the 65-degree weather?
Right.
You remember that? I said, I had to resist putting karma on the text. I said, no, I'm not going to do that to him. But it's supposed to be in the 80s there in another week.
1 minute.
I mean, is that crazy?
Wow.
This swing. But in the meantime, they're going to be left with more of a busted infrastructure. So, coming up, everybody. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Atomic Dog. Yes, I
How you
said
doing,
that, Renee.
TK?
Yes, I said that, Renee. Oh, that's Dwight.
How you doing, TK?
Yes.
Oh, that was Dwight.
I'm doing fine. How are you?
30.
Fine.
Okay.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Stay right there, everybody. We're coming up.
Wonderful.
All right. And Adrian from Cleveland Heights. Hey. Okay, well, not too bad.
15. 10.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. That is my home, as is AM 950 Radio. Minneapolis, St. Paul, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Today, you're going to have a high of 27 degrees in Chicago, mostly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 13 degrees, snow showers. The Dow closed up 64 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed down 47 points. The S&P 500 closed down 2.24 points. Everybody, we've been talking about Central Park Karen, Amy Cooper. That's right. And we were talking about the World Health Organization, which has declared that coronavirus cases are declining, but experts are saying, please watch it, because we cannot let go of the reins just yet. We must remain vigilant. Of course, we got a good word from Reverend Vicki Johnson, the pastor of the St. Thomas Lutheran Church here in Chicago, and she gave us a history lesson, too. We really, really needed that today. We're going to be talking about the Biden town hall. What did you make of what you heard from the president last night? What did you hear about it? What did you think about his pushback on student loans? Progressives are saying, hey, we want student loan forgiveness. He said, absolutely not. No, 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 no. What do you think about that? On the other hand, people were talking about the fact that he's very compassionate. Call me, text me at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. GWC Injury Lawyers gives you the opportunity to text. Also, this is what we need. We need you to like and subscribe on our YouTube page. We're up there every day now. The Santita Jackson Show page. The Santita Jackson Show page. So please, Morning Stars, everybody get on over there, like and subscribe. We want to continue to grow the show, and we're so glad that you're helping us to do that. And I have a new Twitter page. Aside from at Santita J, we have the at Santita J show. So please go on over there, and join us here, because wherever you are, if you're on Instagram, anywhere, we are streaming everywhere. Thank you, Dr. Deborah Holden, Dr. Marnie Reeves, and Mrs. Shapiro Wells. Call us at 773-763-WCPT. We want to hear what you think about what President Biden said, and we're going to hear a fascinating story about a book that is about to become huge. The Gilded Ones. It's the first installment of a trilogy. It's about to be a movie, all of that. But the story, behind the story, Namina Forna, who is the author, that is going to inspire you. Really, really, really. All right, everybody, let's get to some of these headlines as we hear from you today. Coronavirus cases are declining across the U.S., but experts urge caution. That news is coming from the World Health Organization. 6 takeaways from the Biden town hall meeting. He's talking about a deadline on vaccinations. He expects there to be 400 million doses by the end of May, and over 600 million doses of the vaccine by July. Wow. It seems like there's a big fight in the Republican Party, a bunch of baloney after President Trump's acquittal. Wow. Former President Trump is on the attack against the Republican establishment. He's blasting McConnell as a hack who lacks political insight, and he is looking at taking Republicans out who did not stand with him in 2022. Texas officials are warning of carbon monoxide poisoning. At least 17 deaths have been tied to this winter storm. There's a public health disaster, according to Dr. Samuel Prater, an emergency room physician at the Memorial Hermann Texas Medical Center. He said millions of Texans are preparing to endure some more frigid cold. Power outages are out not just all over Texas, but all over this midsection of the country. That means if you don't have electricity and gas, you cannot even run the water to try and keep your faucets solvent. We're going to see a lot of disasters, and we're seeing disasters on the pipeline. Remember, the greatest producer of energy in the United States is the state of Texas, and the pipelines that get the energy to us, they're frozen. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that say about our infrastructure? People are calling for the Texas governor to resign. They said he is lying and people are dying because he is blaming. Well, he's engaging in the blame game. He said even though Texas relies on fossil fuels, he says solar and wind are the reason that we're having the blackouts. Wow. What do you think about that? 72% of the country is dealing with some kind of snow or cold emergency. In the meantime, Bill Gates is saying that all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef. He said, as for scale today, um, wow, we need to go to synthetic beef. So, what do you think about that? He said that poor countries in Africa won't be able to completely transition to synthetic beef and will have to use animal genetics to dramatically lower the raise the amount, of beef per emissions for them. Synthetic beef, what is in the synthetic beef? Something to think about, everybody. But hey, everybody, let's get to what happened last night as we're talking about policy now. Now we are into the Biden Harris presidency. What did you vote for? And what do you expect? Before I go to this all-star panel, let me go to Adrian. Adrian from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Love it, love it, love it. How you doing, Adrian? Let's bring up Adrian from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Adrian?
Can you hear me?
Now I can. What's going on, Adrian? How are you? Got a lot of dear friends in Cleveland. Cleveland Heights, Shaker, the whole bit. Yes.
This does tie into the student loans in terms of I didn't watch the townhouse. It's just too much. I just depend on coming on the show to get updated. But in terms of Biden's pose on dropping, is that Vermont where they dropped the convictions for marijuana charges? Because if you have a felony or what have you, you don't even qualify for student loans. And I mean, it's just, I know California, I think they're doing some proactive where you can start your own business and grow it. But I guess he's not there yet, or did he mention anything? I guess that's in line. So
well,
that's just what's on my mind.
They didn't even get that far. I think
I don't think so, but yeah.
No, it's okay. I mean, and I frankly don't know. I think though that it's very interesting. I heard the pundits this morning, Adrian, say they were cheering him on CNN. He did not back down. He didn't capitulate. He didn't pander to the progressives. I said, wait a minute, but that's not what he was doing when he was campaigning. He wasn't pandering to me. He was begging me for my vote. Shaming me for it, quite frankly, because if I didn't vote for him, I wasn't black enough. So, you know, but those are details.
Yeah.
So,
But I'll keep listening. Thank you. I love the show.
Love
Bye-bye.
you too, girl. And tell everybody in Cleveland, all my friends, the Tidmores, the Boostamanis, and everybody in the Whitleys. That's right. All my folks in Cleveland. Love them, love them, love them. Let me go to you, Robert from Wisconsin. Robert, what's on your mind today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't expect much from Joe Biden. We know he's not a progressive. I was a Bernie person. We know the history, the record there. Really, I think the issue is they really have to address what happened, at the Capitol. They have to go after the communication network and the people that lied about the election, the broadcasting licenses of these people who've had 4 years of lies. And it just seems like the Biden administration wants to move on. They want to sweep it under the rug. Well, what's going to happen is everything that they're going to want to do is going to get derailed, just like what happened to Obama. So they really need to work on that front. If it's an FBI investigation to put these people in jail, the people that supported this stuff, And the other thing that they really need to do is work on a few progressive priorities, because otherwise you're going to lose the House in the midterms. And, you know, you really question, what are we voting for? I mean, even the Justice Democrats up and down the board, they had the leverage to push a vote on Medicare for all. What did they do? All of them capitulated. They all folded. And there was a lot of false narratives that Pelosi would lose that speakership if they did that. None of that stuff was true. They decided in their best interest they weren't going to fight for any of the priorities that they ran on. So we really need to be kind of suspect. I hope Lee Carter or Nina Turner are actually going to do what they say they're going to do. So I'm trying to support them this time around.
Oh,
but
support them. Support them. But
Yeah.
but don't be be disappointed. But you have to push, because all of these progressive measures that the president has taken thus far. Thank you, Robert. State Representative Lakeisha Myers. He's from your neck of the woods. The progressive measures that have been pushed, that have gone through thus far, that he's been pushing, have been pushed by progressives. He's responding to pressure. So, what did you make of what you saw last night?
I think it was slow and steady wins the race to a certain extent. And I think when Robert talked about a lot of the progressive policies that the president has embraced, I think that has been at the behest of progressive members of Congress. And I think that's the key piece here when looking at what policies will be implemented. The president is does not drive to a certain extent what policies we will have. They are there strictly for implementation purposes and to do, kind of go with the winds of Congress. I think we have a unique opportunity with having a democratically controlled Congress, with both houses, and then having the vice president be able to break any ties that exist. So I think this is the time now to get whatever it is done. You mentioned student loan relief. The president said he was, able to think about what he could do with $10,000 per person. Hey, at this juncture, with as many student loans as I have, I'll take what I can get. But I think if you want, I'm serious.
But wait. But hold on, because see, that's a real issue. Because it's not
a real issue.
Well, because see, not when $20 trillion plus went to the banks in 2007 and 2008.
Absolutely.
And that money is offshore now. So wait. The PPE money that was supposed to keep people at least employed, at least keep them insured. Their health insurance, that's gone. That's a bailout. Now, what's up with?
Absolutely, that was a bailout.
Yeah, because most people go to Harvard. We have to remember President Obama and First Lady Obama were in student loan debt to their eyeballs until he became president.
And I think that the royalty check from his book is how they paid off his student loan debt.
Yeah.
So, when you think about that, this is a real issue. So I think if the president is able to legally do something in a unilateral fashion where it's $10,000, then that leaves the rest to Congress to do the rest. And I think this is what he was saying. He won't be able to kind of go in guns blazing in the manner that Trump was able to do that and get away with it to a certain extent. But I think he put a lot of the onus on Congress that if this is something you really want and you want to relieve an additional $50,000, then make it happen through policy in Congress. I think this is the fight that we have to look to now. The Congress has to do their job and push through what it is that they want to see happen. And you're not going to get that just with one branch doing this particular work. So I do think that Biden is going to have to embrace some more, policies that may be more progressive leaning, or that people who are progressives that champion, where he may have been a person that's more middle of the road and try to get things done. You do all that you can when you have a Congress that, is of the same party. Whatever it is that you thought you wanted, this is the time now to get that done. When it comes to the Black community, I'm looking at, there's a hearing on HR 40 that's going to be coming up. Where are we going to get with the conversation about reparations and the study for reparations to get that done? I think when you look at student loan debt, you have to look at making student loans deferring, not even deferring interest, getting rid of some of the interest rates and slashing interest rates for student loans. When you go to 0% interest, that's something that would help a lot of people try to absolve some of the debt that they have, because you can't really restructure a lot of your student loan debt that you have. And we know you can't get rid of it through bankruptcy. So that's the only thing you can't get rid of in a bankruptcy is student loan debt. So I think you have to go back and look at policies that exist that existed under the Betsy DeVos administration with the Department of Education, and look at these for-profit colleges, people who've been victimized by for-profit colleges that had exorbitant amounts of student loans and were preyed upon. Treat them the same way you treated payday lenders that went above and beyond what they needed to do, and also try to relieve some of the debt that way as well. So like you talked about with a bailout, we can have a bailout. It just needs to be the will of Congress to want to really bail education out, bail the student loans out. I think that's something that would help a lot of people. I'm not saying that everybody has as many student loans as I have. The average American probably doesn't have that much.
I don't care that State Representative Myers.
I know.
However large or small the debt, when you have an educated population, you have a safer society.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
so
you do.
this is no. Student loan debt just ought not be an issue. You have some wealthy parents who tell their children, they discharge them so that they don't have to pay. They have them declare independence. And then some parents do it, because, it's like, I want you to stand on your own 2 feet, because when I'm gone, I need to make sure that you'll be able to make it without me. There are so many reasons. But I just think that going into debt to get an education is a bad idea. And when countries are building and expanding, they don't do that. They do not turn their newly educated population into wage slaves. And that is what is happening. Robert Patillo, your thoughts?
Well, you're absolutely correct about the issue, but I think what's going to have to happen is find out what the solution is. And the reason Joe Biden is throwing this into the lap of Congress is that there is really no precedent for for an executive order relieving all student loan debt or even a prescribed amount. Now, the Department of Education has the ability to cancel student loan debt for individuals given certain circumstances, but it's never been tested if the executive branch can expend, I think, something like $680 billion, which would be needed to cut $50,000 from everybody's student loan debt. So that more than likely has to come from the Congress. That's what that's the point Joe Biden was making. But nobody likes to hear the process argument. Nobody likes to have the process conversation. And frankly, this really does fall at the feet of Chuck Schumer at the end of the day, because it's almost like a head coach in football. The head coach can only tell you what the players can execute. And Joe Biden's leveling with the American people. He's doing the opposite of what Trump did. Trump never told his base that anything was impossible, no matter how impossible it was. He was more than happy to lie to them. Joe Biden's leveling, saying that this is an expenditure. The House has the power of the purse strings. This has to be done through the budget. And what we may end up seeing is that it goes through budget reconciliation in the next Senate, budget, and it may take a while to get there. But I do think that this is a place where the American people have to pressure the Senate and have to make sure that everyone knows that you will get primaried as a Democratic senator if you do not support this. As a Republican senator, if you do not support this, then there will be this litany of people filing to run against you. And that's how you get the pressure there. So I think Joe Biden was leveling with the American people. It's not what we want to hear, but I think it's the message that we need to hear. And instead of 4 more years of someone lying to us, saying that they're going to build a wall, the virus is going to be over in 3 weeks, drink some bleach, put a light bulb in you, those sorts of things. I think it's kind of refreshing to have a little bit of straight talk back on what policy is and how it actually gets done.
Well, and you have to know what you have to fight for. I mean, don't get misty-eyed and about politics, because that's not what this game is. This is about power and who gets what. So don't buy into all the sympathy and whatnot. I think that's nice, because he's a really nice guy. But that has nothing to do with what your needs are. What your needs are. Think about that, everybody. Let me go to Robert from Ohio. How you doing, Robert from Toledo? How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Santina?
It's good hearing your voice.
This is my first time. It's the first time I ever called, so I'm a little nervous. But
don't be nervous.
You know,
Look, you're just talking. You're just talking to me and many others. Just kidding. Come on, Robert. What's on your mind, sweetie?
I went to school and I went to college. And in the '80s, they was all like, say no to drugs. Grow up and be careful. And I grew up. My mother was a law enforcement officer, so I didn't get involved in all that stuff. But I sit here and I'm like, I go to college. I get 2 degrees. One of them I got from California, and I'm not $100,000 in debt. I'm hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Because I believe in the American dream, and I believe in working hard and making an achievement in something. I will never pay this loan off. I'm gonna die with this loan. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I see cats out here who, literally they sold drugs. Became rappers, made a lot of money. Some of them married to Beyonce, and I'm up here struggling every day because I listen to
Robert,
some BS about follow the American dream.
But Robert, you don't even have to go. You don't even have to go over there. All you have to do is look at the bankers and the people on Wall Street. Hold on, wait, because they're the ones who don't get charged, right? I mean, it's
You're right.
So what do you want? Right. What do you need? What are you willing? What do you want? Well, you know what, Dwight, why don't you speak to Robert about what he needs to do, because you have such a long history of activism. I got about a minute, Dwight.
Well, it's really a measure of values and a value system. It's when America wants to declare war, wants you to go to war, they pay your tuition. But if you like Robert spent your life trying to pursue the American dream, and you want to heal like a Deborah, who you want to heal the sick, then you're on your own. It's really a matter of the society's values and in which way we go. I think that if you hold on, Robert, I think the pressure on the society will be such at some point that they will change the laws and give you a discount on your loans. I don't think you'll be in debt for the rest of your life, just because so many people are in your situation that now it's a democratic dilemma.
1 minute.
Society's going to force them to make adjustments on that. It's again, it's a matter of values and priorities. Absolutely. We could pay everybody's debt if that's what our priorities were.
Absolutely. And what you're going to have to do, because you are the society, Robert, is organize and make that happen. People need to march on Washington, march on the state capitals, and call your congresspersons. You need to call people, and not just people who represent you. You need to call
30.
and make them do it. That's what FDR told A. Philip Randolph when they said, look, we're trying to figure out if we're going to send black people to fight in the Second World War, because we're still getting lynched, we're dealing with discrimination, and on and on and on.
15.
And then you want us to go into a segregated army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. He said,
10.
You're right about everything. Now go out in March and make me do it. Stay right there, Robert. We're going to talk.
5.
Bring up Namina Forna in just a few minutes. Talk about making your dreams come true on the Santita Jackson Show. Robert?
Yeah.
Okay, you still there? I wanted you to speak because we're going to move on to another topic, but I wanted you to hear from this wonderful panel today, because we don't want you to be discouraged at all. This is your opportunity to organize and fight back.
Yeah.
If they can bail out these banks that are still getting bailed out
for trillions of dollars, trillions,
tens of trillions.
My whole point is that I sit there. My mother was a law enforcement officer. My grandfather was a law enforcement officer, and for the longest time I was like, why y'all? And now that I'm older, I'm like, why did they do that? Why go out your way to help these people? They will never give us nothing. Nothing. Everything we've ever had, we had to struggle and fight for. And I see, and I'm not trying to be racist or nothing, but I see white people, they got something Their whole world, they can have worse credit than us, get lower rates. They can have worse everything than us, get a better house. We got to struggle for every damn little thing we get. Everything. Nothing is given. And then I sit here and I hear this president who I voted for. I voted for him, because, honestly, I'm starting to understand why so many young black people are here becoming not.
Just Robert.
Sorry, I lost Robert, but we have Namina.
Yeah, Robert.
Okay, hold. He went on, but I've got to go on to Namina, Forna. But what did you? He might still be listening, Dwight.
Yeah, I was going to say very quickly, just for the record, Robert, all white people are not equal.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
some white people get $1,400, and some white people get 14. All white people are not equal. It has more to do with a system that is structured for the rich, even than race in many ways.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, because racism has been used to drive a wedge in what is essentially a class problem. Racism is a form of classism, everybody. Remember that. White people have been shafted too. Most of them don't know it. But those who do know it become a Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who said, I was a Republican, but you know what? Her intellect is such that it's elastic, so she could grow. And she said, when I really figured out what was going on in this system, my politics changed. I can respect that. Okay? I can respect that because she has a global view, which is probably why she's such a fierce foe and they didn't want her to be president, the establishment that is, because she understands their thinking. So I don't want you to be faint of heart. I don't want you to be discouraged, Robert. I don't want anyone to be. Now, this is why you have to fight. That's part of the American DNA, to fight for the right and continue to continue the fight after that. It's in my lifetime. I don't think you need to be given things because when you're given things, you truly don't appreciate them. When you have to work for them, that's a good thing. But the game should not be rigged so that you have to pay a higher price than everybody else. That's ridiculous. Awful.
30.
Namina, how you doing?
I'm good. Good morning.
Girl, you see you're in the middle of this conversation with everybody here. State Representative Lakeisha Myers, are you still here?
I'm still here. I have to go in a little bit, but
Well, I want
15.
you to hear this story though. And Robert, I want you to get her on your show because this is a story that you need to hear. This is a story you really, really, really need to hear.
10.
Really.
All right, here we go.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, and the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the largest progressive talk radio station to the north, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Of course, you can call or text me at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. GWC Injury Lawyers gives you the opportunity to text. All of my morning stars over here on Facebook, we're now on StreamYard, so we're streaming on multiple platforms. Please go to the Santita Jackson Show on YouTube and like and subscribe. The Santita Jackson Show. Let everyone know about that, please. I've got a new Twitter handle aside from @SantitaJ, so I encourage you to please be a part of me there. Please go to the @Santita Jackson Show. The @Santita J Show. That's right, and join me there on Twitter because I'm going to be putting more. Really a lot of other stories that are directly related to the show on that timeline. So we've got a lot to talk about today. Do you know what? I have some very, very dear friends. Those of you all know I went to Howard University, and some of my best friends in the world. We talk all the time. And one of my dear, dear friends, Dr. Lori Hobbs, one of my best friends actually in the world, said, you've got to be in touch with this young lady. She is doing something magnificent. And Lori's sisters went to Spelman, and some of them went to Howard. We were all in school together at the same time, and we always try to support each other because HBCUs have a groove line too. Everybody, that's right. And so I was really fascinated by the story of this young woman, Namina Forna. She has a book that is becoming a bestseller right now. It's going to be actually it's the first book in a trilogy, The Gilded Ones, everybody. The Gilded Ones. And it really it is a tremendous tale that is empowering. It's inspired by her West African traditions. And it's about a 16-year-old girl. And I think, and she's really having to face up to patriarchy, which is something that we're all having to deal with. We're all having to scale some kind of mountain. But she scaled mountains in her own life too, because it took a whole lot for this child of immigrants, really this black woman. And I said, no matter if you are from Africa, from the Caribbean, wherever you're from, whenever we have lived under the boot, our parents want us to go to the secure professions, right? Be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer. Mm. And when you decide to go into the arts, when you say, I want to be a writer, I want to do something else, your parents just absolutely freak out because they don't want you to see a hungry day. But her story helps you to understand how important it is for you to live out your dreams. Our pastor, Reverend Clay Evans, Dwight McKee, Reverend Clay Evans said, I've never seen God give you a vision without making provision. And even if that is not your faith system, the thoughts that are in your head and that the dreams that you have in your heart, they're there for a reason. Follow them. Namina Forna, welcome to the show, the author of The Gilded Ones. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. Talk to me. The Gilded Ones. What is this about?
So, The Gilded Ones is a YA. It's a young adult fantasy that's sort of based in a West African inspired world. And in this world, there's a group of women who are considered demons because they're faster and they're stronger than regular people, and they each have only one way they can die. But then actual demons sort of come into the world, and the human beings realize, hey, we need these girls who are faster and stronger to fight these demons. So they give them a choice, either fight or die. My main character decides to fight, and by doing so goes on this adventure that sort of changes her entire world.
Where did this story come from? How did you come up with this? Because I mean, there are a lot of layers to this story because you are looking at patriarchy, which is a real feature, I think, in the world, but we see it, we discuss it, more prominently. I would say, as Americans, we look at other cultures and say, oh, they're patriarchal, and oh my goodness, patriarchy, we've got to deal with that. We deal with that here too, but it is a very prominent feature in West African culture. Why did you decide to deal with that in this novel?
So I grew up in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I came to America when I was 9, and I grew up at the advent of the Civil War. What happened in Sierra Leone, the atrocities there were like really horrific, but what happened to the women and to the women in my family seemed sort of took it to another level. So I was always very conscious being a girl in that society that that I was under a physical threat. And then when I moved to America, I thought things would be different. This is America, it's the beacon on the hill. But then I realized that it was sort of the same thing that was happening because I moved to Georgia and I was like, oh, wait a second. It's still a very patriarchal place. It's just more polite about it. Things are just not, they're not as open, but they're still there. So that was sort of the basis for why I decided to write The Gilded Ones. The other thing was that I went to Spelman College, and while I was there, I was taking classes on African diaspora in the world, the movement of Black people across the world. And I was also taking classes on feminism, and I really wanted to write a book that sort of explained to people in an easy and simple way how does a patriarchal society form? What does it look like? Who suffers under it and who doesn't? And so these were sort of all the things that were in my mind as I came up with the world for The Gilded Ones.
Who suffers under patriarchy? I mean, how does it shape people?
I think everyone does. That's the thing. I think a lot of times when people hear the word feminism, it's sort of like for a lot of people, it blocks the air because it's automatically, oh, this is only a woman's problem. But like everybody suffers under a patriarchal system because it's a system, and systems are designed to keep people in certain boxes. So women suffer. Women are told that they're not equal to men and all of these things, but men suffer as well because if you look at it, men are told that their emotions aren't valued. They're told to sort of express themselves only through anger and not through other ways. So like pretty much if you don't fit into what the prescribed box is for you, then you're going to have problems in a patriarchal society.
The Gilded Ones, everyone. You need to get this book. I mean, it's going to be a trilogy. And why a trilogy? I mean, what else needs to be said? I mean, clearly this is an ongoing issue, but I think it's fascinating that, this is a fantasy, right? There are fantastical aspects to it, just like Black Panther, if you will. But it's a trilogy. Why a trilogy?
Because I think there's a lot of things that I sort of wanted to look at in terms of feminism, because I think that I personally classify myself as a womanist, meaning that like I like to look at things from the perspective of not only my gender but also how my race and culture play into how I'm perceived in the world. And I sort of, with this book, wanted to talk about all of these things, and with this trilogy, wanted to sort of look at how not only a patriarchal system is classified, but how feminism is classified, and sort of unravel it over the course of these 3 books, and sort of look at what are the benefits and pitfalls of everything.
You know what? There's a couple of people, there's several people who are holding, and of course, I want to talk with you one on one, but I have the president of the National Bar Association, which is the largest and oldest Black bar association in the world, 66,000 lawyers nomina. She is preparing for a White House meeting, but she said she wanted to hear what you had to say. I've got Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers, brilliant, brilliant woman. She's worked on every level of local, state, and federal government. She wanted to hear from you. And of course, I want to get you on Attorney Robert Patillo's show in Atlanta on WAOK, with which you are familiar, being a Spelmanite, and Dwight McKee. C.K. Hoffler, can you come in? Because I know you probably have us muted. CK?
I'm in.
What do you
Yes.
think? This is an incredible this is an incredible story, don't you think? Because I think that's something that Black women nomina, we don't really we deal with racism first. You know, and there's an old expression, CK, that we love our sons or we raise our daughters because we're so afraid because our
Yes.
Black men are under attack that we ignore the pain that we're in and what we're dealing with, CK. Patriarchy is real.
No, it is. It is. I agree. We do worry so much for our sons. I have 2 sons, and they are the focal point of my anxiety, my joy, because your children give you the most joy and the most pain. And I'm not trying to be Frankie, Beverly, and Maze right now, but they really do give you the most joy and the most pain.
Yes.
But we do worry, and I can just say, as a trial lawyer, a lot of times, some of the responses that I get, and I will say I'm a very, very tenacious trial lawyer. I really am. So I'm not even going to try to fake that. But I can tell you that some of the responses that I get on the other side from my opposing counsel, it's hard for me, especially when they're men, especially when they're white men. It's hard for me to determine whether their response is because of my race or gender. Gender really is a significant issue on so many levels. And I encounter it on a daily basis. But when you have a double whammy, if you will, being a woman and being African American, it all blends together. But I can identify clearly, and this would be perhaps the subject of another show, things that have happened to me, instances I can clearly identify as gender issues, not race. They didn't even get to the race. I was stopped at the door because of gender, and I had to just bust through the door or bust through that glass ceiling. So when we talk about what we as Black women do, the patriarchal societies and how we are raised and how we raise our children. The only way to level the playing field is for us to be cognizant of it and raise our children in a different way so that they don't perpetuate some of the things that cause us anxiety as Black women, as Black mothers, and as Black leaders in our female leaders in our community. So I think this is an incredibly interesting discussion. I would love to talk to your guest a little bit more about it and see where it takes us, even from the standpoint of the National Bar Association. We have panel discussions addressing these very issues. So I would love maybe to have her on one of our panels if she's available and if she would like, so that we can, because this touches us all, no matter where you are in life, no matter how much money you make, no matter what you have or don't have, no matter how successful you are, and success is a state of mind. No matter what you do, you're going to confront these issues. And I think that is a narrative that needs to be fleshed out and discussed in our community on a wide scale basis, because it all has to do with wellness, health and wellness.
Well, absolutely. And, Namina, I'm going to come back to you, Representative Myers. But Namina, I mean, you have really heavy Hollywood credentials. And Hollywood, it has the appearance of being liberal, but trying to tell Black stories, okay, giving us our dignity. That's a big thing. That's why, as we celebrate the life of Cicely Tyson, we know this woman had a fight on her hands. She had a fight, to fight for our dignity. And it's interesting that you've written a book that that young girls could read. I mean, if I give this to, well, my nieces are older than this now, but I wish I'd had this when they were 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 and 16. What will this say to our young girls, young Black girls in particular, and young girls generally?
I think the thing that it'll say is you get to define yourself. I think so often as women, especially as Black women, everybody else defines us. We walk into the world and everybody already has a box that they see that we belong in. And really what I'm trying to do with this book is to say to girls, hey, before you walk out into that world, figure out who you are for yourself, because everybody's going to do it if you don't do it yourself. And that's, I think, is the most important thing. Understand who you are and understand the world in which you operate. Because when we step out into the world, we step out as Black women. That's how people see us. That is how people interact with us. And so we need to have our own definitions ready for ourselves.
And this is, I mean, and where is this? The Gilded Ones? Everyone get the book, The Gilded Ones. It's already at the top of Amazon's fantasy list. You've got to get the book. It's already a huge hit. So I got a huge get. Thank you, Namina and Dr. Lori Hobbs for coming on. Yes, Dwight McKee, of course. Dwight, of course.
Can I get some really quick things to this?
Yes.
It seems to me to be a reflection of what we just went through. And in a book, Black women are the demons. Until they have a need, society needs them. And then because they need their skill set, they then become the heroes. What it really is, what just happened in this election is Black women have always been perceived as the demons, but then when the Democratic Party and the society and all of us at large needed them, they stepped to the plate, changed the discourse, and now they are the heroes. It really is not so mythological as it is a reflection of what Black women really go through.
And these women bleed gold. It is, you got to see this is Namina. What a
Yes,
wonderful,
ma'am.
I mean, this is fantastic. How did you gain Hollywood's interest? I mean, you've been part of the NBC Universal Writers Program. You've been at the top of that. I mean, how were you able to make this break and hold on to the integrity of your story?
So I went to film school because after I decided to become a writer in undergrad, and I wanted to be a novelist. But when I went out into the world to try to sell books, I just kept getting rejection after rejection, and the message that I kept getting with each rejection was that Black people do not sell books, and especially Black women do not sell books and not on the cover. So I decided to go to film school to sort of, while I was working on my dream of being a novelist, figure out another job that I could do while sort of waiting for this dream to work out. And while I was there, I got into screenwriting. And that was a whole other struggle because just as there are barriers in publishing, there are barriers in screenwriting to Black women. But finally, I got an agent and I sold this book, and it was like a six-figure deal. And when I sold the book and it kept selling across territories, and we started talking about film deals, I told my agent, I was like, listen, I am going to write this movie. And the reason why I said that is because for me, I understand how important depiction is for our people. Like, I understand how important it is to be able to write your own story and say your own narrative. So I had that conversation of the only way we're selling this story is if I'm the one writing it. And that's exactly what we did.
Wow. And tell me, I mean, when you went to your mother and said that you didn't want to be a lawyer, please explain what happened. Just
my family was not a fan of me becoming an author. I think they had high expectations. I was like valedictorian of high school. I went to Spelman on a full ride. So they were like, and my older sister's a doctor. So my mom was like, I'm going to have like the perfect one doctor, one lawyer. It's going to be amazing. And then I was like, you know what? I want to tell stories. And it was almost like the record scratched. And my family was like, what are you doing? No, don't do this. They were like, you're going to be poor. And I was, of course, poor for years and years and years. And every time I would sort of try and fail, my family would be like, okay, time to go to law school. And I would apply to law school and I would get in and I would never go. And the reason I would never go was because for me, when I grew up in Sierra Leone, and I grew up during a war, that was such a traumatizing time. And the only way that I got through was by reading. I would read obsessively and relentlessly because books were my safe place. They were the place where I felt like if I was there, nothing bad would happen. And that's always what I've wanted to do. I have wanted to create safe spaces for other people, like all across the world. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're going through. It's sort of my hope that when you enter my world, I can hold you safely there for however long you are. And so that's sort of what kept me going, was this purpose of this is what I want to do. This is my purpose in life. So every time I failed or I got knocked down, I would have my moments where I'd be like, okay, this sucks. Here you are. You have no money. You don't know what you're going to do, but you do know that you're going to write and you're going to keep going. And so that's what I did.
Wow. Mama D, what's on your mind today? Mama D?
Oh, yes. Hallelujah. Greetings. I believe that sexism and racism are Siamese twins. And that if white mothers do not teach their children how to have respect for those with dark skin and woolly hair, they are raising hatred and violence into the world. However, I wanted to ask her, every pregnant woman is a trinity within her own body. And biblically speaking, they say that there's equality in Genesis 1:26. He blessed them. He told them to be fruitful and multiply. He told them to till the earth. And yet, females are not included in the Trinity. But when they become pregnant, they are part living sperm, part living egg, and part living what the egg and sperm put together called offspring. So I wanted to know, does your book address those things? That's my question.
That is an amazing question. And that is something that I actually haven't even really thought of. That is an amazing thing. And I need to think of that for the next couple of books, because I've never even thought of that. Actually, thank you. That's sparking my mind right now.
Thank you, Mama D.
I want to go and write.
No. I mean, because that is something to think about. Because I think we don't. Everyone we're talking with Namina Forna, the author of The Gilded Ones, is at the top of Amazon's fantasy list. You need to get the book, The Gilded Ones. It's a fantasy, but if you loved, I dare I say this, Namina, if you loved Black Panther, you will love this, and I will tell you why. And let me just make that broad statement. Um, we saw the what has been stripped away from us, over these more than 400 years that we've been here. And I would say not just to African Americans, not just Black people in the United States, but those of us who were brought into this Western world. I mean, only, I think, 4 to 6% of those who were taken out of Africa came to the United States. Most Black people outside of Africa live in Brazil, are in Brazil, and they're in South and Central America. But we've essentially had the same experience. But to see ourselves um, restored was a wonderful thing. And that when I see this book, I see not just Black people restored, I see Black girls who are forgotten. Uh, I see us restored. I see girls restored, but I see Black girls who are absolutely, your hair's too kinky, you're too dark, you're too everything that everybody else appropriates and makes money off of and becomes. Okay, I can't have a large, um, I can't have a voluptuous figure, but Ashley Graham can, and Kim Kardashian can, and J Lo can, right? It's this is so restorative. This novel. I mean, why don't you tell people? And I see it hitting people from 12 to you know 80. Really. What is the final thought that you want to leave people with, Namina?
I want I wanted to leave people with the thought that The Gilded Ones is a hopeful book. Um, I know that like the book has so much things that the girls have to go through. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of stress that these women have to go through. But at the end of the day, it's a hopeful book. It's a book that focuses on sisterhood and Black femininity, and it's a book that says to young girls that you can be whatever it is you want to be. You just have to reach out and claim it for yourself. And so that's really sort of what I want to leave people with, is just that feeling of hope and that feeling of having Black girls see themselves in this work and having themselves be held, be celebrated, and be
1
loved.
minute.
Indeed, that's what you did. You had the courage to strike out, and you said, "Look, I might not make any money in the short term or in the long term, but I'm going to live out the dream. There is something inside that is driving me to pursue this dream and to actualize this vision. And I want to thank you for being an inspiration to all of us today." Namina Forna. Everybody, get the book. Get the book. You don't want to miss this. The
30.
Gilded Ones. The Gilded Ones. It is an incredible book. And as you can hear, she is an incredible young woman. Spelmanite. Love it. HBCU's in the house. Loving it, loving it, loving it.
Yes,
15.
for having me.
Oh, girl, please. I want you to say goodbye to everybody on Facebook Live on
10.
the other side. But stay right here for a hot second. We're going to talk for a couple more minutes. I love you, everybody.
5.
Robert Patillo, Dwight McKee, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, State Representative Lakeisha Myers, Reverend Vicki Johnson, and Dr. Deborah Furholden. Love you, love you, love you, everybody. See you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Namina?
Yes.
Oh, wow. This is incredible, really. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, as Janet Jackson's album has barreled up to the top of the charts again, right? And even Justin Timberlake had to apologize, which he should have done a long time ago. But, because Janet's still relevant. Something inside so strong. I want to thank you for this book, and I have to call Lori and thank her for bringing this to my attention. And everyone, I want you to get the Gilded Ones. Get the Gilded Ones because it is worth your while. It is worth your while, and we have to support we have to support each other. We really, really do. And I want you to know, I want you to come back on the show, and I'm going to connect you to Attorney C.K. Hoffler. We're on Facebook Live right now, but I'm going to connect you to her so that she can present you to all of these lawyers. It's, like I said, it's 66,000 of them. And we need to have some discussions about patriarchy and sexism and how it hurts Black women. You know, I am mindful of the fact
Yes,
that
please.
when we came out of slavery, Black men on paper were given the right to vote, not Black women. Now, we had to fight for the right to vote along with white women who told us to get in the back of the line in the suffragist marches. So, you know, we've got, we've got that double fight, which is something Ida B. Wells refused to do. But they told us to get in the back of the line, literally. Yeah, you can march in the march with us, but you have to wear your white, but you have to stay, you all have to be in the back. So, you know, we are fighting, and even the civil rights struggle is told through the prism of the struggle between Black men and white men. No one talks about the fact that Rosa Parks was known statewide in Alabama because she did the unthinkable. Not only was she the secretary of the state secretary of the NAACP when it was illegal to be a member of the NAACP. State law forbid you to be a member. But she was famous before she became the state secretary because she used to investigate the sexual assaults of Black women by white men, which were never prosecuted. And she was known across the state for investigating them. Wow.
That's amazing history.
It's amazing history. And we need to tell that story. Because every time she would say, every time she saw her own face, she saw, as my father's mother said, she saw, do you know why we look this way? That's why my father's mother wouldn't even look at Roots. You could not mention Dwight. You could not mention Roots to Grandma Helen. It infuriated her. It infuriated her. And this is someone who was raised in part by her white grandfather. Mm-mm. She didn't want to. Don't talk to. She didn't want. Don't mention that to me. Do you know why we look as we do? There's a lot of pain in our experiences, and just when as because women and and we know it, Namita, because you get in these positions where you are in charge. Representative Myers, are you still there?
I'm still here.
You get in these situations. I want you to jump in here where you're in charge, but you're dismissed. Lakeisha,
Absolutely.
you're just dismissed.
Absolutely.
And your experience as a Black woman, especially as a Black woman, you're dismissed. And so Representative Myers, I think that this
It happens all the time.
Okay.
Especially when you go into different situations, and I've been with the chief judge in Milwaukee County, who was a Black woman at the time, and we went up north to a prison to check on children. And they went to her white intern and said, "Oh, how are you, Judge White?" And he said, "No, that's Judge White." And they had to, turn to the Black woman. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay. So you get that all the time.
You know what? Most people who do sound when you go to these big concerts, Dwight would know this because he's also a record producer. The people who do sound, they're almost all, well, it's a male space and it's a white male space, absolutely. It gets one or two Black men who get through, but it's a white male space. I worked for Roberta Flack for 5 years. She's the only person in the history of the Grammys to have won pop record of the year in consecutive years. No one has ever done that. Michael Jackson didn't even do that. She's the only person who ever did that. And she is her uncredited producer, as is Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
Okay? Because they sat at that piano and worked out their music. And so then Ahmet Erdogan walked in and said, "Oh, so what have you done? Oh, okay. Well, then we'll add some strings here." And she would sign off on everything. Miss Franklin did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to see a real pushback, every time we did a sound check, because Miss Flack's sound checks were 2 to 3 hours for every show. That's why when you went to her shows, My mother said, it sounds like you're in the studio. When I worked for her, I understood that because she worked. I mean, you worked as hard before the show as you did during the show. Everything, but the sound men would give her such a hard time. Now, this is a woman who's walking around with the Grammys, who's living in the Dakota, who she's paying them. You don't know what you're talking about. One guy said that to her. Oh, he should not have said that to her that day. She said, "Are you serious?" Oh no, and without uttering a profanity, she put him in his place. Loved it. But this is a real struggle. And so what I love about this book, The Gilded Ones, it's talking to it talks to all of us, but Namina, you're talking to our girls. And they need to be spoken to.
Yeah.
They need not be afraid of menses, right? they ought to know that
Definitely not.
that's right. They ought to know that their blood is gold and how valuable it is. Just they need, and so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this book. Thank you for this. Thank you for helping our young girls in particular look at patriarchy and push back on it and fight it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I have to say, because I have what they call hashtag a girl dad. Because my father said to me, look, marriage is not an achievement, it's something you do. He said, I don't want you to get caught up in that. I don't want you to get caught up in ageism. He said, if you don't like birthdays, try missing one. I don't want you will not impress me by the husband you bring. What will impress me is the person you become.
That's beautiful.
And I got that young. He said, no, I don't. As my mother began to fret, he was like, look, if you can take care of yourself, he said, because daddy never wants you to be beholden to a man and his money. I don't want you to be in any mess. You don't come from mess. And you don't do mess well, Santita. If things get shaky, daddy always wants you to be able to leave or put him out. If you want a fur coat, I hope he can give it to you, but I want you to get it yourself. You want a big house, fancy car, all that. I hope he can give it to you, but I want you to be able to get it for yourself. You know when he told me that? I was about 8.
That's good advice.
That's beautiful.
Very, very good advice.
Oh my!
That's beautiful and practical advice.
Practical advice. Like, no, you don't want to do that. That's nice, but don't live on that. So, I mean, Namina, where do you go from here with this? I mean, what's next with this book?
With this book, I am literally just finishing my edits for book 2. I'm about to finish writing the movie, and hopefully you guys will see it on the big screen sometime soon, or maybe even the little screen. Who knows, because COVID. But you guys will definitely see the movie, and I'm so very excited about that.
Oh boy! Well, number one, we want you to come back to the show for sure. And we want to have a broader discussion, and Representative Myers, you've got to participate in it. We've got to talk about patriarchy and sexism. And this is not to diminish anyone, but this is to help to lift us up. I have to be very specific and clear about that, because that is a discussion that Black women, many of us, don't have. We've not had that space, because please, when you're watching George Floyd and when you're afraid for your brothers, for your husband, for your boyfriend, for your friends to have an encounter with the police, which they could have at any time, even in your home. Thank you, Skip Gates. It's like we're last on the list. But
and we're going through the same thing too. Is the funny thing.
Come on, thank you, Sandra Bland. Okay, Brianna at home. We have another Brianna here in Chicago, but she lived to tell the tale. Social worker.
Oh wow!
They broke down her door. Well, they burst into her apartment. She was naked, and they would not let her put on a robe. The police.
Oh, I saw that video.
I mean, come on.
That was horrifying.
Can you imagine? And then they showed the video around the police station. It went viral. It's horrible.
I saw it and I spent the entire day just upset, and I couldn't go on social media that day because I was just, my whole body was shaking. I was so angry that day.
Absolutely. And so, acknowledging. I mean, thank you for the acknowledgement, and we're going to have you back when you can get the time. We want to have you back because we want you to be a part of some broader discussions about where we are in the world, about finding our place and having our say, as the Delaney sisters said. Thank you very much. Thank you for this.
I would love to.
Oh, can't wait. Dwight,
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Santita, as well.
Oh, girl, you got to come back. I'm so glad you
I
reached.
will. I have to go teach class now, but I
Sending
thank
you
you so
love.
much, Namina. I will be getting the book.
And please be careful.
Thank you so much.
As you teach. Dwight McKee, are you still there? Robert, anyone still there?
Yeah, I am.
Dwight, what are your thoughts before we go?
Well, I was just thinking, oddly enough, about the sister who they made stand up naked when they crashed into her house.
Here in Chicago.
That if they would have made those policemen, based on what they did, give her their dogs, that racism would be over. It is amazing the value system that these people have.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Let me tell you where that comes from, Namina. We were talking about Amy Cooper,
Yeah.
okay. And Dwight's position was what, Dwight?
That I think that her punishment should have been she should have given him the dog.
These people she would have had, because these folks will chase you down the street if you're wearing a fur with red paint.
And she got acquitted the other day, didn't she?
She did, because she had 5
we
sessions.
about.
We talked about that at the beginning of the show. She had 5 sessions. So I guess she has been purged of these thoughts.
But if she would have had to give up that dog, she would have had a real epiphany.
You know what? He's rather droll, but and snarky. But I think there's truth there, because we will see laws passed. I mean, you saw Michael Vick lose his whole career over dogs, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't treat dogs kindly, gently, but I tell you this: dog fighting throughout the world is a multi-billion-dollar sport, and he was involved in that. And and quite frankly, black people in America have another kind of thought about dogs, because dogs were used to kill us, from slavery through Jim Crow, and they are used to attack us today. So it's it's a lot. But Namina, your final thought before we go?
Buy the book.
Buy the book. Gilded Wands.
Buy the book.
Gilded Wands, everybody, get the book. Buy the book. And a lot of people said that they're going to get it. So we're glad that you will. Go get the book. And first of all, the cover, you just, number one, you want to get the hardcover, because you want to take the cover and you want to frame it, because it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, Namina, I already bought the book, but I need an autographed copy. And
of course, I got you.
I've got to get, but I'm going to send. I got to get your address, because because in fact I got them for my nieces too. And because I even though they're now, one is on her way to college, and 2 of them are coming out. I still want them to. I just think this is a book for the ages. So I want to thank you for this inspired book, and I can't wait to have you back. And I'm going to connect you to Attorney C.K. Hoffler, who's president of the National Bar Association, and she wants to bring you in on some of her panels, and I think you would find them worth your while.
And in seriousness, I also want to say that when I think of the strength and the grace of black women throughout history, it has been the most amazing story ever told.
Why do you say that, Dwight?
Because when you look at all they've gone through,
in terms of their own self dignity and self respect. When you look at the fact that they were exploited directly in ways even black men were in slavery, because they were exploited not just for their labor but also for their virtue. And then they would come back and be able to take their sons and their daughters and implant some kind of hope and grace in them. And then they came out the most dignified and most secure people in the world and really set the tone for the whole society. It's just an amazing story. When you look at the Ida B. Wells and the Coretta Kings and the Jackie Jackson, Lois McKees, it is a phenomenal story. That's why I said in many ways her book parallels the existing situation. Tracy down in Atlanta for years would have been seen as the mammy, as the ancient Mama type.
Stacey Abrams, yes.
Abrams as the ancient Mama type, as the stereotype. And so society needed her. And then she went from being the demon to being the hero. And she organized to change the whole society because the democratic machine and the people needed somebody to do that. And so they've been always able to rise to the occasion in ways that nobody else in history has been able to do.
Well, there you go.
That is so true. That is so true.
Why did that hit you, Namina?
It really did, because that was sort of what I was talking about in the book. The idea that there are a group of people who are told that they are demons because the society does not value them. And until the society needs them, that's when they're like, we need you, come and help us. But until then, they're just told that they're demons. So he's absolutely correct.
Absolutely. That is what we're told. And then, when you need me, okay, when you need me, I become the savior. Well, I guess part of what you don't want to do is to lose your you don't want to lose your compassion, and the grace. You don't. You don't. And so, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all that you've done and for all that you're doing. And just know that you're part of the family here on the Santita Jackson Show, and you can come back anytime you wish.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a blessing to you. You're a blessing. So thank you so much. God bless you. And Dwight McKee,
You too.
thank you. Sending you much love, Dwight. Sending everybody much love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you know what? I heard you. I've been told I need to write a book. And you know what? I've been taking some notes. So I hear you. I hear you. I've had a lot of experiences for sure. Thank you, Nicole. Love you, everybody. I will see you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. God bless.